Imagine you're sitting there watching Jonas and Joyce having a tantrum there by Netflix, and you're told Botswana is going to start charging you an extra VAT on top of your Netflix subscription. Well, unfortunately, from the 1st of June 2026, foreign digital services are going to start attracting VAT. So there's on your Apple Music, your Spotify, your Netflix, whatever the case may be. And most people think there's about taxing the big tech companies. Good morning. The name is Kilo with the Capital Media. So basically, VAT is a consumption tax, and what Netflix is going to not be doing for us is absorbing that 14% of VAT out of their margins just for the Botswana market. So you do expect some of your subscriptions are going to start going up, and that cost is going to land on you, the consumer, but not just the consumer, but every small business that is actually using your meta ads, your sponsorship, your accounting softwares, or your cloud-based systems that you use to run your operations. And that is not necessarily a bad thing, but calling it a tax on the tech companies is actually a bit misleading, and we do need to think about the compliance costs that are associated with this. So the right question that I do have for the government of Botswana is whether this is the right instrument for the problems that Botswana is currently facing at the moment. We do have a fiscal problem, and taxing more of our Netflix subscriptions is not going to solve those problems. The problem that we do have is that our national budget is currently running out of two main revenue sources, which is our diamonds and our SACU receipts, which are two income sources that the government is not able to control. And adding a new VAT land on Netflix subscriptions is not going to improve our problems. It does not reduce the volatility of the ones that we actually do have, and we need to start now pointing and calling a spade a spade. Now, here's the part that should make you uncomfortable as a Botswana. Government has in this new plan called the BETP, the Botswana Economic Transformation Plan. And the idea is very simple, that private sector, meaning local businesses, should fund most of it. What government is basically saying to us is that we need to invest, we need to build, and we need to create jobs. But at the same time, they're introducing a tax package that is making it more expensive for small businesses to operate in the first place. We need to now buy new billing machines. We need to pay an extra VAT on top of the softwares and the digital tools that we are using to run businesses, just like this one as the capital, which creates more paperwork and more costs in terms of compliance. You cannot ask somebody to run faster while you're tying their shoelaces at the same time. I think in terms of fiscal policy, there were other things that could have been considered altogether. But VAT was chosen simply because it is the easiest tax for BURS to tend to collect. But there were other options that could have been considered to address the bigger problems that this currently faces. For example, big companies sometimes pay large fees disguised as management fees to their parent companies overseas and tend to reduce, the profits that they get to declare in Botswana, and basically we're losing out on the tax that we are collecting locally here. But there are ways in which you can be able to tighten that. Some other businesses get what you call your big tax breaks within the Special Economic Zones Authority, and nobody publicly checks whether these breaks are actually worth it altogether. And these are conversations that need to be had at government level that could actually be able to be addressed for what they are, but unfortunately they're coming after the consumer first. Another thing while we're here, the Bank of Botswana has been trying to make borrowing a whole lot more cheaper by keeping interest rates low so that businesses like mine and yours can be able to access credit and be able to grow. That is on one hand. And then on the other hand, by using fiscal policy, which is the tax side of things, it is making it more expensive to run a business at the very same time. One part of government is saying we need to supply the economy with more oxygen, and the other part is basically reducing the supply of it altogether. Until those two conversations happen within the same room, every reform that we're going to be bringing is going to be working against itself. So basically, we're pulling in two opposite directions. Perhaps in conclusion, the digital VAT is correct in principle, but unfortunately very uncomfortable within its timing. The harder debate is that this actually reveals how Botswana is actually making some of its economic policy decisions and how it is implementing them by actually ensuring what they're actually pulling in different opposite directions. And this debate is part of what I'm going to be able to cover within my next edition of the Capital Brief newsletter. I'll leave a link somewhere in the comments so that we can be able to articulate and appraise ourselves of what is actually happening within our country. Thank you and have yourself a good day.